you can spend $40,000-$50,000 on these. The windshield got replaced today, and then with that, the camera is usually mounted like right here in the center, or it'll be like right back up here, and it'll have 2 cameras. Some of them now have even 3, but essentially the camera is getting, I equate it to like a new pair of glasses. So in a certain way, we're doing like the eye doctor test on getting, focal length and making sure that it's able to see through the windshield properly. And part of that process is done, and it's a calibration. And they're pretty much done in one of 2 different ways. So this is a static right now, so where we have the target out in front of us. And then a dynamic would be going and driving it. So this is essentially able to focus the camera, make sure it's mounted properly, everything's happy, good to go, that it's going to be able to see the road lines properly. And then if you steer out of the lanes, it'll let you know through, all vehicles are different, but a lot of times it'll either be a noise or a shaking of the steering wheel or vibration in the seat. There's kind of all sorts of different ones. And a lot of them now, this being a 22, will most likely steer you back into the lane once this is all calibrated. So that's part of the test drive. On the computer side of it, we essentially do a scan to start the process, and that lets us know anything that's wrong with all of the different modules. I'm looking on this one, it has 46 different modules. So 46 little computers all throughout the vehicle. And this goes through and essentially gets a check from each one of those, whether it's happy or if it has any codes. There's sometimes that we see 20, 30 codes, and it could be one connector off of just that one code. That's an extreme example, but it does happen. But yeah, anyway, so it goes through all the 40, 50, whatever computers it has, gets a scan on it, and then after we're done with that, then he does the windshield repair. Once the windshield repair is done, then we come in, do a calibration, and then after that we do a scan, and then we do a test drive, make sure everything's happy. And I always like to do a scan at the very end, right before I hand it off to a customer. I view it as like the polishing scan. A scan and a calibration are 2 different things. A scan is, you can look on here, it is all these pass no faults, and then this is all the names of the different modules. So the different modules, like I was saying, are like those small computers that are there, and this sees if there's any faults. And so it scans, and it's also considered a health report sometimes. So it's essentially, is there anything wrong with any of the computers that it, is willing to report? Sure. And so this would be, old check engine light, but it's a similar idea to that, but not everything is your engine control module. So you could have a headlamp that lost communication with your steering angle sensors, just like a crazy random one, right?
Right.
And that's going to not have, your headlight steer with it as you're steering at night. And so that would be a fault that we would have in here, may or may not come up on the dash, may or may not have an issue there. And so all of these modules, they have something for everything now. They have a battery sensor. So the battery has its own computer module. This isn't a hybrid. It's a regular gas vehicle. There's a rain and light sensor. There's a garage door opener computer, so there's, the list goes on and on and on. So that board is matched to what this vehicle is. So that board is for Mercedes other than Sprinter vans. So that will be used for pretty much every single Mercedes. And there are a couple of differences throughout the years and some oddballs here and there, but pretty much that one is a Mercedes. That's going to be specific to Mercedes other than Sprinters. Sprinters, if you looked at it side by side, wouldn't even notice the difference, but I think it's like the thickness of the circle is a little bit different, or maybe the spacing. Can't remember exactly what it was, but there's little intricacies that are different between each one. And they're pretty much a make-specific target. So this wouldn't work on a Honda, it wouldn't work on a Toyota. They have their own. And then there's even ones where it's, depending on what functionality they have, it'll use one target versus another. So some vehicles, I have to bring out 2 or 3 sets of targets to go out to it to make sure that I have, you know, the correct targets that are there. Targets like this, if I was to order it from Mercedes, I think that it would end up, because it's like a whole stand and it has like a headlight adjustment with that stand. Almost, I would call it an add-on to an existing special service tool. And I think that whole setup was over $3,000, like in Germany. Then, you know, if I was to buy it through an aftermarket like Autel, I think I bought one for $500 or $600 for one of those. At this point, I've got them to the point where I've done enough of them. I've done enough research. I spent probably every bit of 6 months going through all the targets because it's such a big cost, and figuring out the dimensions and getting them printed out through like a print shop, and then just double, triple checking the measurements and, you know, that they're square, plumb, so on and so forth. So for your average guy who's looking into it, he's probably seeing a package deal that would be $20,000, possibly more, or an entry level, you know, package that you're looking at, I don't know, $5,000 just for the targets, and that's it. And then, you know, you can go all the way up to, it has an alignment rack with it, and, you know, 4 cameras on each of the wheels and wheel clamps, and you can spend $40,000-$50,000 on these.
But you've done the research and done all the stuff. Can a guy buy targets from you?
Yeah, I've got some for sale. It's kind of a slow moving process, but they're definitely able to do that. And, I mean, they're always changing. There's new ones every year, it seems like. So, yeah, if somebody was interested in buying some targets from me, yeah, have them reach out. It's kind of a debate in the calibration industry whether a test drive is necessary or not. It's pretty straightforward from the computer. You pretty much get a success or failed, and that's about it. There's really not too much in between that. But yeah, once I'm done with the test drive, like I said, I do a final, you know, my polish post scan, make sure everything's happy, everything's good to go. And then I'll usually do a key cycle after that. And I'm kind of paranoid on something coming up right when the customer hops in their vehicle. Doesn't look good on me, doesn't look good on the glass shop. So I always kind of give it a couple of key cycles. Kind of a me thing that's not necessarily common in the calibration industry. But yeah, after that, as soon as it's calibrated and we do a test drive, it should be as good, if not better, than when it came out of the factory.